Good afternoon and or morning, everyone, depending on where you're zooming in from this great, beautiful day here. My name is Eric, and I am a Director of Civic Engagement here at GiveGab. I'll be pulling the levers on the webinar today. Just a few housekeeping notes before we jump into today's presentation. You are all on mute in order to keep the noise level to a minimum. However, we do encourage questions. So please take a moment to locate your Q&A panel now, and we'll save some time at the end to address your questions for our panelists. This webinar is also being recorded, so you'll be able to revisit the presentation at your convenience or share it with someone who wasn't able to attend today. With that, love to just do a quick run through of how we'll spend our time together. We're going to introduce you to our tremendous panel of United Way leaders. Then each panelist will share how their team has been successful in fundraising during the pandemic. We'll talk through some specific fundraising tactics and strategies and ask our panelists about what the future of fundraising looks like for their United Way. Then, as I mentioned, we'll save some time at the end to answer your questions. So before we introduce you to our panel, we'd love to hear from everyone on the call about how the pandemic has impacted their ability to fundraise. So I am going to go ahead and launch this poll here. Put it out there for 30 seconds or so. What impact has the pandemic had on your organization's ability to fundraise? All right, looks like most folks have responded. I am gonna click end here, share the results. 41% of folks say that they have had a positive impact on their fundraising, 49% negative, and then 11% no impact at all. Very interesting. Stop sharing that. And so with that, I will turn it over to our moderator for today's discussion, my colleague, Kyle Cundy.
Hello and welcome, everyone. We're super excited to have you all join us today to discuss a few of our United Way partners utilizing fundraising solutions to keep momentum up in an ever-changing and unpredictable environment. My name is Kyle, as Eric said, and I am Director of Civic Engagement here at GiveGab, where we work with organizations all over the country to help them implement solutions to their unique situations and provide valuable assets back into their communities. Today, we'll be chatting with three of those incredible partners. We've got Matt Marshall, President and CEO of the United Way of West Tennessee, Anna Mosley, Senior Marketing Associate at United Way of Greater Knoxville, and Casey Stanger, Senior Director of Brand and Marketing Strategy at United Way of Cass Clay. All three have utilized Giving Days as a mechanism for support and awareness, but each comes from quite different communities and has different motivations, goals, and outcomes. There are so many varied and diverse areas in our country, and these campaigns can work anywhere and are a great driver for engagement. I'm going to let each of them tell you a little bit about their event, and then we're going to open to a panel discussion and audience Q&A, as Eric mentioned. So please don't hesitate to drop your questions in the Q&A tool so that we can answer those for you. First, we're going to start with Matt. Can you tell us a little bit about Giving Tuesday 731?
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to be on today and to be able to share about the work that we've been doing here in West Tennessee, but specifically the partnership we've had with GiveGab now over the last couple of years. And so our journey really began late 2019, honestly, because a colleague of mine, whose name is also Matt, who is the President and CEO of United Way of Greater Knoxville, where Anna is representing today. Matt and I are close colleagues, and he told me about the Big Give Knox. And so I believe, and Anna will share more about this later, but I believe it was actually his first or second day on the job that they actually launched this event. And so I was on a call with him maybe just a couple of weeks after. In fact, if I remember correctly, I traveled over to Knoxville for a meeting, and it was shortly thereafter, after their Giving Day. And he just spoke about the success that they had and the uniqueness of the event as a whole. And so that just kind of inspired me to look a little bit more into it. And so we began to kind of like look around at the different giving days that GiveGab helped to facilitate around the country. And then, of course, the pandemic hit in early 2020, and there were a lot of things around us that had changed. And so when Giving Tuesday, the international organization, decided to do Giving Tuesday Now, and then GiveGab also participated in that and opened up the platform to be able to be utilized essentially for free for any organizations that wanted to participate on that day, we kind of jumped at the chance. And so that was back on May 5th of 2020. And so that was our very first time ever doing a giving day of this type. And we had about 2 weeks to pull that all together. And so over that 2-week period, we reached out to several of our nonprofit partners all across West Tennessee. And we began to have some really quick meetings to try to organize this effort. We produced a short commercial and tried to get everybody registered really quickly and whatnot. And so we pulled that all together really quickly, as I mentioned. And then on that May 5th, we were able to raise right at about $130,000, of course, over about 24 hours. And so we saw a great turnout for that event. And this was particularly important at that moment in time because, as many of you have witnessed, and we're still in this space in some places around the country, many of those nonprofits were not able, they had to cancel many of their in-person events. And so this allowed them to be able to be part of a fundraiser to raise money for their organization and for their efforts in a fairly simple and easy way. We turned around and we hosted another Giving Tuesday 731 that December, and we raised about another $125,000 that go round. And so between the last 3 giving days that we've done, we've been able to raise right at about $330,000 to $340,000 collectively since 2020. And so it's been a great success for us. Now, that being said, if you understand the way the GiveGab platform works, all of those funds don't necessarily flow through United Way. But we've been more than happy to just kind of be the facilitator of the event. And it's really helped us to garner a lot of support around the work of United Way, for us to kind of be that United Way entity that is serving in between all of our nonprofit partners and agencies, and to build a lot of community goodwill. In addition to that, we're able to recruit sponsors for our giving days. And so that's been helping us to more than able cover the cost of the actual event to put it on. And that's honestly all we ever have really cared a whole lot about. We want to cover the cost of the event. If we're able to make a little bit more than that as an agency ourselves, that's fine, but that's never really been our ambition or goal. It's been primarily to help lift up those other agencies around us, and again, to build that goodwill around the name of United Way. And it's been tremendous in its ability to do that. And so for the foreseeable future, this is something that we see ourselves continuing to do. We had another great successful Giving Day this past Giving Tuesday. And we just 2 weeks ago, we're already planning with the nonprofits about what this next year is going to look like. And so we have had nothing but great opportunities with this. We do want to grow the amount that we raise. We want to grow the number of organizations that participate. We also want to grow the number of donors. This last Giving Day was a little down compared to the one before. And so we have already begun to do a SWOT and kind of figure out what exactly was a part of that. And I can probably share a little bit more about that later of what we think may have contributed to that. But all in all, again, for what it cost us about, $4,000 to run, as you can see, just this last Giving Day, almost $87,000 was raised. So it, again, more than pays for itself. And so great partners with GiveGab. I can't say enough about their support team and all that they do behind the scenes to help us prepare months out in advance. And then all the support they provide the day of. It really allows us just to focus on the marketing and the relationships. So I'll stop there, but again, glad to be here and glad to hopefully encourage some other United Ways to jump on the train.
Thank you, Matt. Next, let's hear from Anna and Big Give Knox.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Anna with United Way of Greater Knoxville, and I am our senior marketing specialist. And to echo Matt, we have been working with GiveGab for 3 years now, and the Big Give is one of my biggest projects, and it is absolutely the easiest project of the year, which is really great. So we had our very first Giving Day in 2019 on Giving Tuesday. And we had decided to really take this on after talking with a lot of our friends and partners in the community. And a lot of agencies were just not doing anything on Giving Tuesday because it was nearly impossible to cut through the noise. And they were not seeing a return on investment for how much time and effort they were putting into the day in terms of donations. So we really adopted a rising tide lifts all boats mentality. We got our board to agree to cover all of the costs for the first year for the software, including $15,000 of prizes, and went ahead and took that on for the agencies in our community. And we had 120 nonprofits sign on for that first year, which was really exciting. And being pre-pandemic, we were also able to do in-person events. We had a nonprofit luncheon and then a community-wide happy hour. So that first year, we raised $159,000 through all of the different nonprofits who participated, which was really exciting. Our second year was really smack dab in the middle of the pandemic, so we did not do anything in person, but a lot of the agencies who had participated with us the first year, we had built some trust with them. And so they put in a lot of effort for the second year, and we ended up raising $194,000 for the second year. And so this was our third, and we broke $330,000, which was really exciting. And a lot of that was down to the trust we had built with the community and with our nonprofit partners, as well as really taking advantage of our partners in media and using, having them help us spread the word, as well as securing sponsors. So one huge thing that we did the second year and the third year was that First Horizon was our presenting sponsor. They covered all of the costs and then some. And we also had a sponsor for the prizes that we gave out throughout the day. And using those prizes to kind of encourage folks to get involved, get their donors involved. We had a prize for whoever had the most donors and volunteers tag us on social media. And I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people were on social media for their nonprofits to win that prize. So the visibility and success of the Giving Day has grown year after year, thanks to the effort that nonprofits are putting in now. Because unlike before, they are seeing a good ROI. They're getting a return on the investment they're putting into this initiative. And it's become really exciting for our community. Like Matt, our number one goal was not to fundraise personally. We are a little competitive, so I did want us to lead on the leaderboards, but our main goal was to get nonprofits involved, especially ones that are not our funded partner agencies, to foster collaboration within the nonprofit community and get everyone together for one day. So, but we, thankfully do have a pretty good time fundraising just for ourselves. I think this year we raised $24,000 just as United Way among that 334,000. So we actually came in third place this year, and it was honestly really great because they were two smaller nonprofits, really grassroots organizations in our community that went out and really worked it, and they were first and second place. So being able to see those successes in the community has been really awesome.
Thanks, Anna. And lastly, but certainly not least, and a slightly different model, Casey with Live United, Give United Day.
Hi, hello everybody. So like she said, Casey Stinger. I work at United Way of Cass Clay, which is over in Fargo, North Dakota. Our United Way, we service probably about 250,000 people in the Cass and Clay counties. So just give it for some size, and we annually raise about $6 million every year. Starting this giving day was really around of the lost revenue from fundraising. So here at United Way of Cass Clay, we did several fundraising events every year, like a luncheon, and we just couldn't do that due to the pandemic and some of the restrictions that our city had. And so we had a Live United kind of a Live United t-shirt day is what we called it. So it used to be kind of a day to just wear your shirt and be proud of what you do, to be kind and be part of the Live United community. And we decided to take that day and really elevate it into a fundraising day. And so the year before we did a little bit with that. And then this last year when we used GiveGab, we really honed in and bared down on having that be a major giving day for us. We really needed something where people didn't have to be together, yet we could create that excitement and momentum just to get people involved with what we do. Like she said, we did it a little differently. And so our United Way, we give out money to nonprofit partners through grants. And so the money we raise all comes to United Way for us to then decide how to give out. So instead of having nonprofits be on the leaderboard and be the people that helped get the word out, we used a strategy on champions is what we call them. And so one of our other struggles is getting new donors to United Way. We have a lot of really what we call loyal donors. And so to really engage them to talk about our work and invite their friends and family to start to give to us. And so that's how we leveraged that feature as more of a champion. And then we gave them tools to help spread that message. We gave prizes for the leaders that were able to do the best. So we had individuals, and then we also had companies who got involved. So Sanford Health here in Fargo, for example, I think they got second place, but they really used it as getting new donors at their company to give. Let's see, what else do I want to share here? Another big part was the matches. So every dollar raised was matched. So for we had match sponsors, and so we had around $50,000 in match sponsors throughout the day. So we also felt it was good to encourage people to give by knowing that for a $10 donation, that was actually $20 that went to the good that we do. And so I think that went a long way to getting people also excited and feeling like that's a really good day to give to us. I had mentioned the previous year we did a little bit on our own. We did a drive-through kind of event and we raised about $60,000. So moving it over to virtual, making it easy to give, making it easy for our champions to be able to post and digitally share and communicate really gave us the opportunity to reach a lot more people. And as you can see there, we raised around $103,000. Which was quite significant and really exciting because the luncheon actually only makes about $25,000. So we actually did better doing a combination of this event. Yeah, I think that's the majority of what I wanted to share in this part.
I'm muted, sorry. Thank you so much, Casey. So now we're going to dive right into the Q&A for you all. I'll try to direct the questions, but please feel free to wave at me or jump in if any of you have an answer that you really want to share on the particular question. Now we know that United Ways often have very different approaches to the way that they do fundraising, depending on where they're located or just what they do particularly in that area or state. So starting with Anna, since you've been doing the Giving Day the longest, can you tell me about your United Way's overall approach to fundraising and how the Giving Day fits into that?
Right. So as Matt mentioned earlier, our very first big give was on the second day of our new CEO's work with us. So bright and early at 4:30 in the morning, we had him on the news promoting the big give. So with his arrival, we had really started looking at becoming the modern United Way and starting on that transformation. So that looks like a lot of collaboration with the nonprofit community and initiatives like this, and expanding our donor base. So we do have a lot of very loyal longtime donors like Casey, but we're trying to appeal to a younger audience and the next generation of philanthropists. So this being a 24-hour online fundraiser has been really great, especially during the pandemic, which we did not foresee. But having a one-stop shop for folks to donate to causes they care about in the community, you can give to multiple agencies with one transaction. And it made it just really, really easy for folks to, see it on Facebook, click, give with Apple Pay, and in, less than 2 minutes, they've given a donation to multiple agencies. So that accessibility was really huge.
Great. Same question for Casey, since your model is slightly different.
Yeah, so we right now a lot of our donations come through companies. So companies is kind of our bread and butter. And so getting new donors, we've kind of figured out a lot of tricks to maximize at the companies where we have a lot of presence. Where we struggle is the 70% of individuals in Fargo-Moorhead who are not working at those companies. And so I think that is where this is a great tool to start to leverage those people that, without spending $200,000 on advertising, I have a really hard time getting and reaching. So I think that would be the major thing I would say, is that there's a really great tool to engage those other types of folks, which is one of our goals in how we increase fundraising and get some of those newer, more modern individuals who may be working from home and don't have as many touch points at those companies either. So.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Matt, anything additional to add in there for your approach in West Tennessee?
I certainly want to echo what Anna and Casey have said, and specifically the point Casey just made. That was our thinking as well. Our campaign has always been the bread and butter of United Way, and maybe always will be. And that's who United Way historically has been. But we recognize the need to be able, as she said, to reach out beyond that into the wider community. And so this gave us a great opportunity to do that. And to essentially, and I think one of the questions in the Q&A right now is related to, do we actually host this during the campaign season? And we do. Yeah, we do. It's smack dab in the middle of the campaign season. And we've seen it. We've not seen any type of issues there where it's affecting the campaign in any negative way. It actually, if anything, we've seen our campaign grow as well. And so one thing that I want to add to that really quickly is that it also has helped us engage companies who don't do campaigns. So we've had companies come in and sponsor. So Toyota has been our premier sponsor the last 2 years. That was a company that does not do a campaign, that we did not have historically a very warm relationship with. It wasn't bad. We just didn't really have a relationship. And it's allowed us now to develop a very warm relationship with them, where they now are even sponsoring other things that we're doing. And so this has been tremendous, and they're just one example. There are other companies of whom they fit in that category as well. And so, yeah, it really has helped us expand beyond the horizons that we previously had.
That's awesome, because that's always the goal, right? Like to connect, make those new connections and continue to foster them. Are there any problems or pain points that a giving day has helped alleviate for you? We'll start with Matt again.
Repeat that question. Pain points.
Problems or pain points that like a giving day has helped alleviate.
Yeah. So first and foremost, like Anna shared, previously we had no presence on Giving Tuesday at all. And so I'd say that's a pain point in and of itself from the go. what we used to do was we would go around on that day and give gifts to some of our companies who do campaigns, just as a way to say thank you on that day. But other than that, we had no real presence. We didn't raise any type of funding that day. That was it. We got no coverage whatsoever. And so this has really transformed that. And so, as far as pain points go around Giving Tuesday itself, yeah, sure, we're still learning things along the way. I don't think we've perfected our craft yet. There are certainly ways that we can improve and get better. There are things that we did well the first year and a half that I think this last time we kind of got a little complacent in some things. And so we've learned our lesson a little bit on that. And it was still overall a very successful day. But yeah, there are going to be some things along the way as you interact with your agencies, as you go through the registration process with them understanding how that goes. That takes a little bit of time. But I know Anna and I were on a call just a couple of weeks ago discussing this, and we both really feel like most of our agencies who have done well have really figured it out, and they're grabbing the bull by the horns and marching to great success with it. And so it's really, as she said, it's becoming easier and easier every single time. And so now it's just, it almost runs itself.
Right. It's like piggybacking on that. We often hear from organizations that participate in giving days that, they're learning tools that they didn't necessarily have access to before, that maybe they saw their peers who were larger organizations have. So that's definitely a really nice thing. Casey, for you, again, since your model's a little bit different, are there any different problems or pain points that you found that a giving day alleviated for you all?
I think I would just reiterate that engaging those champions and engaging those companies. So we have people that are excited about our work and want to talk about our work. And we've tried to engage them in the past, and we'd be like, oh, here's some ideas, a post you can put out on your own. And it would come to them in email or a voicemail. And it requires them to do 2-3 steps and some typing, right? And people just want it easy, right? So through GiveGab, it was just really easy for them to grab it. They were already on their social platforms and or just on their phones, and they could easily do it. In addition to those companies, the match sponsors, we gave them time periods during the day that they would be like, this is the Hatch Realty hour. And so we would highlight them during that hour, and that was a chance for them to engage with their loyal consumers, to get them excited also about our work, instead of us just continually talking to the same people that are excited about it. The other challenge I would say this helped with is we do a lot of like the company campaigns, and we focus a lot on annual giving. So to give a gift every paycheck or every month. This was just give 50, just give 20. And so trying to make it an easy gateway for a new donor to dip their toe in without saying, I'm going to commit to giving $10 every paycheck. I'm just going to try and see what happens. And then really getting them into the funnel of, now they start to get some stories from us of the changes that we make. And they're starting to get some information about new events and different events that they can engage with. And so again, getting into new people in that funnel is a continual challenge. And I think this is a great tool to get us moving in the right direction in that front.
Yeah, that's something we hear a lot of too, like, lower the barrier to entry for something. So that's awesome. Anna, anything else to add for that? Any pain points or problems that this has alleviated for you?
Matt and Casey covered a lot of it, but really just helping us reposition ourselves in the minds of the nonprofit community and the community as a whole. We have a lot of strategic partnerships and relationships now that were born of the Big Give, nonprofits that we haven't historically funded or don't really line up with our impact areas. We're doing special projects with them because conversations were started, and the same with companies who saw what we were doing and were interested, and kind of giving the community permission to view us as innovative and, collaborative with, other nonprofits was really exciting.
Great, thank you. So how did the community respond to the Giving Day initially? You all have run at least one now. So was there anything surprising in that response that you got from the community? Anna, you want to answer first?
Yeah, so, the first 2 years we were really trying to just get the message out there and encourage nonprofits, send emails to your donors, post on social media, gave them the templates and, the social media templates and everything. And this third year, whenever we saw such a huge jump in revenue, people were like, oh, it's Giving Tuesday, it's the Big Give Knox. And, folks were sharing it on social media on their own without, being encouraged to by a nonprofit. So people actually remembering that it's happening and getting excited about giving was really, really exciting to have had an impact so that people recognize it.
Yeah. Anything to add there, Matt or Casey?
Yeah, I would echo that and say that I think, one of the advantages to a Giving Tuesday and particularly, this effort, like a big giving day. I think had you told me 3 years ago that, hundreds, maybe a little, 1,000 or so donors over the course of the last 2 years would show up on these Giving Tuesdays, and we would collectively raise $330,000 over 72 hours, I would think you were a little crazy. And so, I think that just goes to show, as Anna said, if we're willing to be innovative and creative and try some new things, and I think as Casey was mentioning earlier, if we're willing to go to where people are, we're willing to reach them where they are, as opposed to asking them always to come to us, that we might be very surprised by the outcomes. And as Anna has said, and as I mentioned earlier as well, a huge part of this was, as she mentioned, building back some of that trust with our agencies and people in our community that had grown maybe just a little stale or see some doubt. One of the very first conversations I had with my staff when I came into this role was the importance of our partner agencies and generally nonprofits and others in our community not seeing us as competitors, but truly as partners. And so this, as Anna has shared a couple times, has really allowed us to embody that. And as she mentioned, it's built so much goodwill that now has, cascaded over into so many other areas. Some things that we, honestly could not have imagined. And so as an example, right now, and I know this is also true for Knoxville, we're both working on a very large grant, state-funded grant, that is a collective impact model that I think had we not done this hard work 2 years ago, I'm not sure we would have been in a place to be able to pursue something like that with so many partners. And now it just makes a ton of sense to everybody. And so, it's opened a lot of doors that, again, maybe 2-3 years ago, we could not have foreseen.
That's incredible. Thanks for sharing. And Casey, how about you? How did the community in Cass Clay respond to the Giving Day?
Yeah, really good. What we see over with events is like every year it seems to grow and grow and grow. So there becomes this momentum. So we're looking forward to it continuing to grow. I think one of the things that surprised me is once we kind of announced what we were doing, we had several loyal donors come forward with bigger gifts. And instead of just giving them, they said, hey, when do you want us to give this during the day to create momentum at the right times? And so that was also really exciting because a couple of those people were Tocqueville donors. They already give, which in Fargo means $10,000 or more a year. I don't know if it's the same everywhere, so I'm just gonna say that. But come forward with another $1,000 or $2,000 and say, when can we strategically, if you want to say we're doing it at noon to push you toward a certain level to keep the momentum. So that was surprising to me, as I just thought, these bigger donors already engage with us, but they were looking for additional opportunities for not an or, but an and. And so if there are opportunities to get, some more dollars from our loyal people, that's a great opportunity too.
Yeah, we've heard that from several of our partners as well, that, going into the Giving Day, there's a fear that it's going to cannibalize from the people that give in a certain way. And overall, that has not been the experience of any of our partners. So that's really, really exciting to hear that was your experience as well. Now we know that there is a ton of innovation happening overall in the fundraising space, but particularly in United Way's right now. So I want to throw this all to you. What do you see the future of fundraising looking like at United Way, and how do your plans, Giving Day or otherwise, fit into that Anna, if you want to start.
Yeah, so we are moving to be a lot more collaborative and responsive, so more agile and being able to respond quicker with more efficiency whenever things happen in our community, as opposed to just an annual, annual or every 3 years grant process. An example of that is literally the day that our office closed down for COVID in 2020, we launched a COVID-19 response fund using a GiveGab tool and raised over $1.2 million in just over a month that we then were able to disperse to nonprofits who were doing that really important work at that time. So, that kind of, immediately responding to crises in our community and filling a need, and tools like this make it really easy to do so.
Thank you. Casey, how about you?
Yeah, I'd reiterate that the technology of wanting to do things en masse, yet making it feel really personal. We do a lot of conversations about how to make that happen so that donors feel thanked quickly, thanked appropriately. Like, can we give them somebody received help today because of you, a mom in West Fargo, or whatever it is. I also think, keeping in tune with what's next. I mean, we've been talking a lot about cryptocurrency, which, Fargo is kind of a late on the bell curve, usually speaking, but what does that look like? And will there be more of that? And could we donate cryptocurrency? Could we engage our college students in doing that? So it just new and innovative ways to reach donors where they are at, which is always going to be technology, right? So trying to be at the start of where our folks are.
Thank you. And Matt?
You guys will notice sometimes, like, I'm taking notes, always trying to learn. So, I want to go back to something that Casey mentioned earlier, because it has really driven the way we look at the role of United Way in our community here locally in West Tennessee. And that is, as was mentioned earlier, we have been so focused on campaign historically that maybe we missed other opportunities, particularly as the world around us has begun to change. And that change has been happening for 2 decades now. And so, again, I always say, as Casey said, as I mentioned earlier, campaign will always be our bread and butter, but we also have to explore new ways to diversify our revenue. And so this is just one example. I mentioned a moment ago grants. So before I came to United Way, our local United Way did not pursue very many grants at all. And now, we're the last 2 years, we've taken in about $750,000 in grants. We're actually approaching over $1 million maybe by the end of this year. And then if we get this big grant where we're going after, it'll be significantly more, substantially more. And so that's been a key part of all of that. But one of the other areas where we have really changed is thinking about what is the role of United Way in the community. And so I think, generally speaking, we've all recognized in most places that United Way is a convener. It's the organization that brings others to the table and is able to get things done and accomplish really big things. And so we really have leaned even further into that for that to be a big role that we play. But one other thing that maybe is a little controversial is that we've also recognized the need that there were services or there were things that the community needed that no one was providing. And so we also have become a little bit more programmatic and have even our own internal programs now to kind of solve some of the community's biggest needs. And actually, that's where we kind of feel Giving Tuesday fits in all of this. It's just another United Way program that we provide as a service to the community and to our nonprofit partners. And so that's been key and as we've kind of reimagined ourselves. And I don't think that we're done with that. I think there's still a lot more to come. But I think I've only been in the network for a little over 2 years. And one of the very first things that I did was begin to talk with people like Matt at Knoxville, but also he actually, when he been at Knoxville the first time I met him, but other people all around the network, all around the country, and really kind of try to take the best ideas from all over and synthesize those into something that worked for our locality. And so I think we have to all be willing to be creative and try some things. Understand there might be some bumps in the road along the way, but my last thing I'll add in this line of thought is recognizing campaign has changed. It will continue to change. We recognize that more and more industry is automating and there's other things happening. The landscape is changing all around us. And as Casey said, we have to figure out how to get outside of companies to fundraise in the community as well. Because if not, we're going to be left behind even more so than I think if we're honest, we already have a little bit.
Right. It's like we have this framework that's effective, but we have to keep innovating and changing little pieces of it to make sure that we're hitting the marks that we need to be hitting. Awesome. Thank you. So this one specifically, I want to ask for Anna, but if anybody else has anything you can throw in. But you mentioned when talking about the leaderboards, how competitive you are and how you want to be at the top of it, but that you saw two smaller organizations at the top this past year and that was exciting. So, you know, what impact has Giving Day had on those participating agencies as well as yourself? Have they shared those things with you, and what kind of feedback are you getting from them?
Yeah, so quite a few agencies have reached out expressing how great it is to be able to use peer-to-peer fundraising. For some, that's something that they hadn't tried before, and it worked really well for them to do peer-to-peer fundraising and have a platform to kind of try that out with, you know, low barriers and low cost for the first time. So that's really great, as well as, you know, capturing new donors. So in our donation form, we ask that people let us know if they're a new donor to an organization. And this past Giving Tuesday, 42% of donors said that they were new donors to an organization. So attracting those new donors and capturing their information to continue relationships with them has been really, really huge for the agencies in our community and for us as well. So we also got some new donors. So
that's incredible. I love that. That's such a high percentage too. So that's awesome. Now, I guess this one's for you as well, since you ran your first Giving Day pre-pandemic. But how do you see in-person events maybe coming back post-pandemic? And is there a plan to implement them when that can be safe again? And after she answers, Casey, Matt, if you want to throw in anything, like if you've been thinking to the future about being able to do things in person as well.
absolutely. So yes, our first year we did 2 in-person events, as well as having a volunteer component. So with the volunteer organization in our community, we partnered and had major companies doing volunteer projects throughout the day while we were doing fundraising, which was really cool. Last year we attempted a live stream, not in 2021, but in 2020. And while we did see an increase in donors and donations, not a lot of people really watched the live stream. So we would really like to do in-person activities again, whether we involve that volunteer component once more or not. We had planned on doing it recently, but as we were getting closer to really making some decisions, there was another wave. And so we just decided to play it safe this year. But we are really hopeful to be in person again, not only because it provides something physical for the media to attend, so they can send out cameras and do interviews. And so it helps with media coverage, but also because then all of, you know, the nonprofit community can be there in person and do some networking and kind of celebrate the day together. So we have plans too, but I'm just gonna like knock on wood that we can actually do it in 2022.
Absolutely. Casey or Matt, do either of you have any plans into the future for in-person events for your next Giving Day?
Yeah, so we had a small in-person component. So our match sponsors came during their hour of the day, and we had live radio remotes and live TV remotes. We did tell the public they could come and give in person. So we had like a drive up option. So like you stop and you pick up your Applebee's, you can stop and give a gift and we'll bring you out a donut. We, for some reason, like donuts up here. So just some fun things like that. I don't think we would expand it to a bigger event, the giving day itself. But we are looking forward to bringing back some, like our luncheon, for example, that I mentioned, because like I said, we're not experiencing we give to one thing and not the other. People tend to, I mean, not one size fits all. Some people are going to go to the luncheon and drop $100. Some people are going to give on the giving day $100, and some are going to do both. And so I think if we have the capacity to do it and it's making money, we would continue to do that. So.
Thank you. And Matt?
Yeah, it's something that we've talked about even leading up to this last giving day. We discussed whether we wanted to try to do anything that was in person. Unfortunately, we're still in the middle of a wave, and so we didn't feel comfortable at that time doing that. But it is something we're considering as we move forward. And generally speaking, when we have been able to have much smaller events over the last year, and again, it's been a bit difficult to even try to find time when we can do that safely. But when we have, there has been both like I think all of our meetings, both a virtual and an in-person option. And so I think moving forward, that's exactly what you'll see. I think, we're never going to get away from the virtual side of things now. And so even if we do a giving day, in-person thing, oh yeah, GiveGab and our Giving Tuesday 731 is going to be a central component to all of that. And so it's something we're exploring, but haven't made any final decisions on yet.
Yeah, it's like once things are safe again, we'll be looking at like hybrid stuff, which is exciting. All right, so I'll start with Casey for this question since your giving day is the newest. What do you wish someone had told you before you decided to host a giving day?
That's a really good question. I would say, I guess I wish I knew, I think a lot of the thought process is upfront with the giving day, like not that other projects are not, but once we kind of packaged everything we were doing, the giving day was actually really enjoyable and fun just to watch the community react and get excited. And I, transparency, I was on maternity leave so for part of the setup, so that could lead to why I'm maybe answering that way. But I think just there's a lot of really great options within GiveGab, and I think and since we were doing it a little bit different with the champions versus the nonprofits, I think we were just trying to figure out how to best make that work, given our audience was just a little bit different. And I'm really looking forward to next year where we can take some of the things we learned about engaging the champions and really maximizing it now that we know how the tool works and how our champions want to be engaged, and really marrying those up to make something really cool.
Awesome. Matt, is there anything that you wish someone had told you before you launched a giving day?
No, not necessarily. Again, I actually think the process has been very, very smooth. My team has all really enjoyed being able to host it. Most of the work is in the buildup. It's the lead up to the day. Generally speaking, when you get to the day, if you're having issues, that means something went wrong in the buildup. And so we had maybe one situation like that, and that had nothing to do with GiveGab, had nothing to do with us, had everything to do with one of our partners who wanted to register at the last minute. And so there were things that hadn't been processed. And so we, eliminated that opportunity for something like that to happen by just stretching out that time, closing that window for registration much earlier. And so since we did that, starting with the second giving day, we've had no issues whatsoever that have arisen actually on the day of. Again, all of it has been super smooth. So yeah, I'm not really sure that there's anything that I can point to that I really say, man, I wish I would have known that. Again, I think what I would say to everybody listening is, I know what I know now, but I guess I wish I would have known, which is you can raise a lot of money. So, hey, go do it.
Thank you. And Anna, anything that you wish you had known before you started with your giving day?
I guess, if you're doing it on Giving Tuesday, then fully expect emails all over Thanksgiving break. But, it's really not so bad. And honestly that it truly is worth the investment. If you have room in your budget to try this, or if you can get a sponsorship, then that's even better. But if you work it right, then you will absolutely cover your costs and it'll be well worth your while.
Thank you. I've got one more question and then we're going to hop into the Q&A. But 3 years from now, what would you want your giving day to look like? Anna, you can go with that to start.
I would really love to break $1 million, which is a little ambitious, but given our growth this past year, I definitely think that it's something that could happen. And I would love for in Tennessee, but also everywhere, for Giving Tuesday to kind of become something that United Ways can own in their community, and that this is replicated for a lot of locals, that, we kind of organize it and put it on, and that it's something that the community can look to United Way for guidance on. So
thank you. And Matt?
100%. Anna and I've been having that exact conversation. And so we're getting ready to host a meeting here in the state of Tennessee, I think in 2 weeks, something like that, Anna. And that's precisely what we're talking about. We really want, no matter where you are in Tennessee, and I would dare say around the country and around the world, for Giving Tuesday to have an association with United Ways, and it really to be something that we kind of own and we lead out on. That would be great. On a personal level, here in West Tennessee, yeah, we would love to see more growth. And so right now we're kind of wanting to get to right now about $250,000 raised in one day. And so that's what we're aiming for right now. And also, as Anna mentioned, the other thing we're kind of aiming for is that ubiquity of people understanding, hey, we don't even have to advertise that much for it, for people to know that it's here, and that they want to participate. And so, yeah, those are kind of our chief aims at this point. And again, as I mentioned earlier, to also just even involve even more nonprofits and more people in the community.
Excellent. And Casey, in 3 years, what would you like Live United, Give United to look like?
Yeah, so of course, more dollars. We haven't said a dollar amount for that far out in the future yet, but more dollars. And we were looking at, we've already talked about how do we engage maybe some of our college students. So we have a couple big universities here, including, NDSU and MSUM. So just how do we engage college students? So not only, even if they don't give a lot, but just starting to get them into the fold of making us their charity of choice and being that cool, hip place that they can belong to, whether that's sororities or fraternities or however we can engage them. And then new companies. And so, maybe they can deliver a check on Live United, Give United Day, and we'll do a social post. Our social media is a pretty popular channel here where companies like being associated with us. It boosts their employee morale and their culture and all of that pieces too. So just how can we continue to pull the levers that we know seem to work in our market and get donors excited about us?
Thank you. Now I am going to hand back over to Eric for our audience Q&A.
Thanks, Kyle. So we had a question come in about hosting a giving day during United Way campaign time. And for those of you, if that all is true, how do you maximize or optimize your time to make both initiatives successful?
One thing that we do that has been really successful is with our Alexis de Tocqueville members who give $10,000 or more, or the society where it's younger folks who are stepping up to be Tocqueville level. That is a great way to ask them to fulfill their pledge without being pushy. We can say, hey, you made this pledge and, we're being competitive. We really want to head up the leaderboards. Can you fulfill your pledge on this day? And that gets them really excited. And this year, we've also done some competition between the groups. So they're giving a little extra on top of the pledge they made so that their team can win. So that's been really great.
So one of ours is during our campaign season. One of the things we were really thoughtful about is what message are we using to engage our audience? And so our campaign message, we we have what we call 3 bold goals. And I've only been at United Way for 2 years, so this might be a thing and you guys are like, duh, everybody has this, but we have 3 bold goals. And so it's homelessness and hunger, preparing kids to succeed, and workforce. And so our campaign last year was talking about workforce. And so then our our Giving Day focused on homelessness and how we want to prevent 90% of homelessness for youth and families in our community. And so our messages were a little bit different, where I think that helped people grasp onto the and not, like I said before, the I give to one or the other. They wanted to give to both. And so I think just how you position it can be very meaningful with your audience. So it doesn't feel like you're like, give to United Way, oh, give to United Way again, but really give to United Way to do this. Now give it to do this. So really productizing and making it meaningful and different.
I don't really have a whole lot to add to there other than say that very similar to Anna, what we've seen happen is that even some companies that already have campaigns and have pledges and even give corporate gifts and things like that, they still will turn around and give in addition to this to be a corporate sponsor for Giving Tuesday. And so again, it just has resulted in us getting, even more support. So that's been awesome. We haven't seen any type of cannibalization or anything like that. Again, often because they're just 2 different audiences. And so internally as United Way, as a staff, as a team, I have 2 different groups of people working on those 2 different things. And so there's staff members who are working fully dedicated to Giving Tuesday and everything that surrounds that. And then there are staff, our resource directors and others fully dedicated and engaged with campaign. And so they're very separated.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. There were a couple other questions, but I know we got about 2 minutes left. So I will throw it to Kyle to close this out. And as we mentioned, this will be recorded and we'll share it with everyone afterwards.
So thank you firstly to Matt, Anna, and Casey for joining us today and sharing such incredible insights. We had a really great time, hearing answers to those questions and learning more about your giving days. We also appreciate so much you, the audience, for joining us today and asking such great questions. I know some of those got answered right in the Q&A, some got answered live. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any additional questions or would like more information, or would even like to be connected with any of our panelists or other partners. You can connect with me. My email is kyle@givegab.com, and I'm happy to answer those questions or connect you. As Eric mentioned, we're also going to be sending out a recording of this panel later this week. So keep an eye on your inbox if you'd like to reference any of this content again or would like to share with anybody on your team. So thanks again to everyone, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.